Who doesn't love booing players or booing executives? It's like a rite of passage. You buy a ticket, you're watching in a bar, you get to boo. Booing is when the team's not winning. Booing is when the team's winning, but your favorite player or any player is not playing well. Booing is when you've had a bad day, your team is playing well, but you want to express some sort of disgust through your rib cage, up your esophagus, and out of your vocal cords. Booing is as old as the world. It's not just sports where people boo. It's everything. A bad movie, boo. You have a bad time on the highway in traffic, boo. I've spent so much time talking to players about the boos and the heckling and the cheers. You have to forget about it. You can't think about it. Javy Baez was traded from the Cubs to the Mets. He was a deadline acquisition where Mets fans were super excited. Hey, we got Javy Baez. I said on nothing personal. Javy Baez is fine. Not going to make a difference. The Mets were entering a tough part of their schedule. Coca, as a Mets fan, erstwhile, was very clear that the Mets were in first place. He's a schedule looker and a schedule stimulation. Strike that. 40-69. Matt Coca is a schedule simulator. He goes through and says, oh, this team is going to start losing games. This team's going to start winning games, looking at strength of schedule, et cetera, et cetera. He said the Mets are about to free fall. Before they were in first place when he said this, and free fall they did, like at a ride at Universal without a net. Steve Cohen, the owner, has made things worse, not better, through his tweeting and all the things he does, calling out the players pretending they're okay, Lindor saying it's good. Fine. The Mets are losing again. Javy Baez does something good, puts his thumbs down. Players do these little hand signals all the time. They're inside jokes that they come up with in the clubhouse that the manager always knows about. Remember that when I read to you what Luis Rojas said in a minute. Oh, I had no idea what was going on. Horse hockey. He knew exactly what was going on. The front office knows what all the hand gestures are, because when we see something and we don't know what it is, we call down and say, hey, what's that? Putting up some teams have done the, what was it? The Red Sox or the Rays had a fancy bear or something from one of their players' nicknames. There's people who give the okay sign. There's people who give the salute sign. There's teams who do all these different things. So the Mets have been doing the thumbs down sign in order to psych themselves up when they get on second base with a double, or they walk, they get to first base, they give the sign, home run, they cross the plate, thumbs down, whatever the case may be. I didn't think anything of it. I'd seen it. Doesn't make a difference to me what it is. I just wanted to know, as the team president, what was going on. But as a non-team president now, I could care less what it is. If the announcers say it or it's written about, I'll take a look. If not, it's just players being players. Fine. Javy Baez meets the media after the game, and he says, when asked about the thumbs down, he didn't respond that, hey, man, I deserve it. I've been here 17 games. I've been hurt. I'm hitting 210. Basically, I stink. If I were the fans, I'd boo me too, taking a line from the captain, Derek Jeter. Instead, Baez talks about his mental health, which I'm not making fun of. He said, we're not machines. It's hard. We fail 7 out of 10 times. True. Baseball, you fail 7 out of 10 times, you're a 300 hitter. It's the only sport I've ever seen where you can fail that often. I guess soccer, there's a lot of failing on drives to the hoop. And in hockey as well, when you're driving to the goal, the net, whatever the case may be. So Baez makes the mistake of actually telling us what the thumbs down is for. The thumbs down is saying, you fans are booing me when I don't do well. So when I do well, I'm going to boo you. I couldn't believe it when I saw that. I think I immediately tweeted out, uh-oh, because that is the third rail. The third rail has 2 parts, right? Don't go in the stands and fight. The second third rail is don't ever say anything bad about your fans. When you win a title, the first people you thank, I want to thank the fans. When you do something well, I want to thank all of my supporters. It's like an acceptance speech for an award. I'd like to thank the fans, even if it's not a People's Choice Award or whoever has voted for you. That's who you thank first. I guess in that case, you'd thank Steve Cohen first. He voted to get Baez, or Lindor would thank Steve Cohen because he paid Lindor $340 million. Maybe that's what you do when you do something well. Instead of thumbs down, you just always thank you, Steve. Thank you, Steve. So Baez says it. All of a sudden, the media on Twitter, it's trending. It's crazy. They go to Luis Rojas and ask about it. He says, I haven't talked to Javy about that. Horse hockey. Everything's been about the game. Luis Rojas, you have a managerial problem, as in you need to find another job here shortly. I'm getting to know Javy more and more every day. He's an outstanding kid to be around. Javy being a new guy around here, getting to know our fan base. Here's a little hint for all of you. Every player knows about every fan base because they all have been around. They all speak to people on other teams. Javy Baez, having played for the Cubs, is trying to make you believe that he was not aware what the New York fan base was like, which is what the Philadelphia fan base is like, which is what 30 fan bases are like. You get booed in Milwaukee, you get booed in St. Louis, you get booed in LA, you get booed in Kansas City. You get booed. But Luis Rojas said he doesn't realize he's new here. The only thing that players don't know is how they'll react to the fishbowl of the New York media. But even that has changed. In the old days, God, I hate that expression. Cut that, Coca. 469. Before social media and before players had such easy access to fans and fans had such fake easy access to players, there were some cities where if you hadn't played there, you really didn't know how you were going to feel. In New York, they'd call it the New York effect. Can you be a good Yankee? Can you handle the pressure from all the media in New York? But because of social media, there's been an equalizing factor where the media in smaller markets and the media in larger markets, it's almost the same now because everyone is on top of everything you're doing at all times. So for the manager, Luis Rojas, to lie to us and say, hey, Javy, he's getting to know our fan base. Some of the reaction that our fan base has, you see it's something he's learning. Okay. You're right. Javy Baez, having come from the Cubs, has no idea what it is to boo. And then he said something that he may have been told to say that I would never have our manager say. We don't tell our fans or the media that we are unique, that you are different. He said, especially Mets fans, New York fans, this market, this city knows baseball probably more than any other city. Really? I don't think so. They have the right to react however they want. You're right about that, but that wasn't good enough. So what happens when Javy Baez talks to the media, the way it would work is that the director of media relations would call his boss, the head of communications. The head of communications would immediately call the president of baseball operations and me, because we'd be in our office or in the clubhouse, wherever we'd be, while the players are meeting with the media after the game, and say, Houston, we have a problem. One of the players just said the following things. I would then immediately call the owner and say, here's what happened, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to release a statement, and I'm going to talk to the player right now. And the statement I'm going to release is going to come from me, not from you, I would say to the owner, because I don't want you to be associated with having to be negative toward the players. Oh, my God, wait a minute, Steve. You're already negative to the players. You're so happy to get on Twitter, Steve, and talk about how bad your players are. Now you're going to have to go public and again go against your player to say absolutely how unacceptable it is to call out your fans. Steve says, no, thank you. Hey, Sandy, you put your name to that statement. Sandy says, Steve, I think it'd be much more impactful if you do it. The president of the team, I would say, no, it's going to come from me. And my statement is going to be a little different than Sandy Alderson's. He got the statement out much faster than teams get it out when their players are in trouble legally. Javy Baez stated that his thumbs down gesture during the game, Sandy said, was a message to fans who recently have booed him and other players for poor performance. These comments by him and or other players with a similar intent are totally unacceptable and will not be tolerated. The Mets will not tolerate any player gesture that is unprofessional in its meaning or is directed in a negative way toward our fans. I will be meeting with our players and staff to convey this message directly. Mets fans are loyal, really passionate, knowledgeable, and more than willing to express themselves. We love them for every one of these qualities. So here's the thing with that statement that you should know about. I would have done the exact same one. And as I read it and I thought through, I would have added a sentence. So it wouldn't have been the exact same one, I guess. It would have been the statement with those sentiments plus one sentence. I would have explained that Javy Baez and his career with the Mets is over. Now, you're saying I wouldn't have done that back in the day. And I would say, yes, I would have. And here's why. Because, well, Javy Baez may be a great double play partner with Lindor. Lindor may want Baez with him. Baez may be willing to play second base if you pay him enough. The reality is the way the Mets are constituted, they're going to have a much bigger issue with pitching than they are on their position player side. While this season has been very rough for them offensively, the reality is they're going to have to allocate resources toward pitching in a way they wouldn't have expected to. And Javy Baez is going to want too much money. Javy Baez, the juice is not worth the squeeze, and I'm going to say it right now so the fans know that I am choosing them and I am choosing winning. I'm going to sell him down the river because we're not in the race. I'm not sacrificing the future of our team this season. We're done. I'm not creating a fissure in the clubhouse because I will have spoken to Baez and to Lindor, who is the face of the franchise, having given him 340 over 10. And I'm telling them exactly what I'm saying. And I'm telling Lindor, hey, we're partners in this. I'm not calling you out publicly, even though you were a part of this. You've got to be better. Let's be better. If you're not going to hit 300 and be a $34 million shortstop, then be a leader off the field, be a leader in the clubhouse, be a leader on the bench. Do the little things that we need to do, and you better understand who pays your money. Steve Cohen's not going to be willing to lose money forever. The Mets are 7.5 games back of the Braves. Their season's done. Their roster was put together sloppily and poorly. Steve Cohen has had a brutal first year of ownership, but it's a first year. He's going to get a redo next year. He's going to have to dip his toes in the free agent market. He's going to keep the payroll up. He calculated 2 years of major losses, so you're going to have a good payroll next year in New York. Don't worry. Do you believe that Sandy will be your top baseball decision maker? Do you believe that Luis Rojas will be filling out the opening day lineup?